This is Coach Carr with the Basketball Embassy. We're excited to bring you another awesome speaker. Today he's going to be talking about leadership, communication challenges for youth coaches. So this is one of those really cool opportunities where, a tough situation brings us together and allows us to learn from different places. Coach Denis Toroman is from coaching in Luxembourg. He's a professional basketball coach. He works with their basketball federation. So we're just really excited to hear from you, Coach. I'm going to go ahead and pop off here in a second. But before I do that, if you have any questions for Coach, there's a Q&A session on the bottom of your screen. You're welcome to click that and to type in the question, and then we'll get to that at the end of the presentation. Or if you wanted to actually ask the question, you can just raise your hand, and again, we'll try to get to as many of those as possible at the end of the session. So, Coach, thank you so much for being on here, and I'll go ahead and get off and let you get to work.
Thank you very much. So I'm very happy, of course, to be a part of this coaching clinic. So I think the best way is to get started immediately. As you can see, the title itself says leadership and communication challenges for young coaches. I will point out maybe the two key words for me in the beginning is actually the first and the last word. So leadership and young coach. I think all this time we will try to define and explain what is both. But before actually I start, I would like to say, I guess all of us here are coaches and probably young coaches. I think we have a luxury that the job that we do, for sure we are all passionate about it and we love it. So I really think that's actually a luxury, because we are in the rare percentage of people who are doing something that we love. And the second thing, we have also luxury that there are many ways and many goals in coaching. What do you want? You have goal of winning games, winning titles, developing whatever, and actually there are many different ways to get to that goals. So we are actually allowed to be what we are. So from that perspective, I'm saying all of this, and I also hear it a lot when I'm watching and listening the clinics. Everything that I will say today is my opinion and something that is based on my experience. Sometimes I call it like my truth. Doesn't mean that it's correct. Doesn't mean maybe it's for you. Doesn't mean you have to use it. But I'm happy to share it and maybe later to discuss it, and also that I can learn something new from maybe some questions and comments. So I think it was important from my side to emphasize that everything that I'm saying, it's actually only my opinion. Definitely, it's based on experience as being an ex-professional basketball player for almost, I think, 12 or 13 years. It's based on experience now, almost 5 years as a coach, and I think it's also based on, I would say, countless hours of conversations with my friends, with my basketball friends, with my teammates, ex-teammates, and just making some kind of philosophy and conclusions about every topic, including this one. So that was important from my side to say it in the beginning. So to go back to the actual topic, as I said, first and last two words, leadership. If you ask 10 different people, 10 different coaches, and 10 different players or GMs, you will not get 10 same answers. I actually did it before. When I was kind of preparing for this, and I asked my close friends, what do you think? Who is the leader of the team? Is it a player or a coach? And I didn't get same answers from all of them. It's all the people, their opinion I really appreciate. And I think it should be like that. You know, I will try to answer this question. Probably I will need it some more time. I think being a coach, definitely you have to be kind of a leader, and I think leadership should come primarily from coach, just from the point of view that I don't know, that you decide what kind of basketball you want to play, or even you decide what rules you will play in the you will have in the team on and off the court. And I will say, in the end of the day, just to decide when is the practice tomorrow. Just by doing that in that moment, I guess you are the leader of that group. But I think it transmits later that the last I would say, I don't know, touch, or I don't know how to put it in words. I think should come from players. In the end, I think the players are the ones who are actually, of course, on the court, playing, making decisions in a split of a second. And I think that this last leadership always is coming from players' perspective. Of course, you have cases, I think, where you have, if you, I guess all of us are watching the Last Dance, the documentary, and you have a Michael Jordan who is absolute leader and alpha of the whole organization. I think you have also cases where coach is the leader of the franchise. I don't know, maybe in San Antonio. So you have always different cases. Sometimes even the more players can be the leader. So it's interesting topic. That's one of the reasons I decided to talk about it. Definitely, like I said, it's quite interesting for me. And young coach, who is a young coach? I'm a young coach. Coach can be young from many different ways. Obviously, age-wise, if you are just young, you can be also older. But I think the most important thing to define who is a young coach, it's defined by actual experience. How much experience you have, that's kind of definition of are you young or not anymore in coaching or in anything else that you do. Prior to, I guess in this case, what we are talking when we are connecting the leadership and young coach, I guess we should talk, and I will talk about head coaching. So obviously, to be a leader, you have to be a head coach. And prior becoming a head coach, you know, the coach can be like I was, ex-professional player. Of course, you have many cases where you have excellent, amazing coaches who actually never played basketball or on professional level. It can be a long-time assistant coach or somebody who was around the basketball in some different role. So the ways to get there are quite different. But like I said, experience is the key word to define, are you actually young or not, coach. As I said already, I am ex-professional player, and I personally think it's advantage for me, of course. Definitely it can be a disadvantage if you look at it from the side that many coaches are thinking in a way, oh, when I was a player, I was doing things differently, or we were playing different, better, harder, whatever. And sometimes you can get caught in the mindset of how you did things as a player. And game is evolving and changing so much every day that it's definitely not same time today and 5, 10, 20 years ago. So from that perspective, maybe it can be a disadvantage, but as I said, I definitely look at it for me as an advantage, specifically from the side that I can, let's say, maybe easier understand the mindset and the brain of the players, and that for sure helps a lot, and helps a lot in building the relationship with the players. So I think this is the first big thing that I will try to explain, how to build a relationship. And if you are able to do that, and if you know certain things, then definitely it can help you easier to actually then become a leader. When we talk about players, I think it's important in the beginning to say some facts about the players. Many times, I think coaches forget about it, and it's interesting and very simple things. Number one, I think, which is funny, but or stupid even, the players are humans. They're people with emotions, people with problems, people with life outside of basketball. And as I said, many times coaches forget about it, and they are treating players either like robots. I can give you, maybe I will mention it a few times from my example. As a player, I had one time coach who was never calling us by names. He will point finger at you and tell you what to do or where to go. So I think this is for sure something that it's not right from the side of the player. Uh, Players, when you look at them as a group, they are actually much smarter than the coach. That's again my opinion and my experience. Why is that? You have in the team 12, 15 players, 12, 15 individuals, and they know absolutely everything. When you take first and last, when they gather all the information, you are basically naked in front of them. They know the way you talk, the mistakes. I don't know, even I do it also, for sure I will do it today in English, the confidence in talking, the mimic, everything. And not only from that perspective, also from later I will talk about from perspective of tactic, of whatever you can imagine. When they put all the things together from the first to last, they are, I always say, they are actually smarter than you. Third thing that from me it's important to tell like a fact about the player is, as I already mentioned it, maybe they are talking about everything you can imagine. They are talking in the locker room, before practice, after practice, in the plane, in the bus, having a coffee, and they are talking from stuff on the court, off the court. And I always tell them, I know that you're doing that, and they're making even fun of coach. I mean, it's like that. And I always tell my players that I know that you are doing that. I did it. I was also the player, and it's kind of normal. But of course, if there is always the respect, the mutual respect, I'm okay with that, because anyway, I cannot change it. And last thing that I think it's a fact, when we talk about the players, they are testing you constantly. They are testing you on purpose. They are testing you not even knowing that they are testing you in that moment. And it's something that also you have to get used to it. And I can give you example. You can tell players in the beginning of the season that you have rules, or this is something that you will not tolerate. And then of course, after, I don't know, 4 weeks, 5 players are doing that, and actually it's a test how consistent you are. So this is stuff that is important to understand when we are trying to build a relationship with players. And the next thing that I think it's my next slide, yeah. And the next thing I would like to talk about the players is their mindset is obviously different regarding the level of professionalism. So I will try to quickly go through the levels. I think it's very obvious. you have professional players. This is players who are paid to play basketball. They are obligated by some contract that they sign that they will do certain things. Of course, in professional level, there are also many different levels of professionalism. Not to lose a lot of time, I will just, let's say, make a comparison between the highest level and the lowest level of professional players and the difference in their mindset. The highest level, I will use it just because of my experience, of course, the European leagues. So let's say the highest level, in my opinion, of course, is the EuroLeague. And a player in EuroLeague, he or she, they are probably, for sure, they are bigger professionals. They know what it takes to get to that level. So they kind of know already what is the most important. They know what to do to stay on that level. And they realize that the team success actually is more important than personal success. I will explain you and maybe give you the example. In my opinion, if you have a player in EuroLeague who is, let's say, making, he will understand that if he, for example, makes 9.5 points per game and his team wins EuroLeague, wins the title, that this is much more value than if he had 11 points, 3 points per game, and his team lost in the quarterfinals. Let me put it this way. So these players, they understand that team success actually will bring them the new contract. They are, as I mentioned, more professional in a way of probably taking care of them, taking care of their body in off season and in general. And I think they are probably ready to sacrifice more. They are ready to sacrifice their ego probably a little bit more. They are ready maybe to endure the bad coaching even, just because two main things from their perspective is obviously money, because we're talking about big money, and they want titles, they want wins. So I would say this is a mindset of EuroLeague player. I had privilege that I was at that level as a player very shortly and not with a big role, but I have many friends who stayed there for many years, and it's the experience that I also gathered from them. And then the difference with the player who is, let's say, the I would say lowest level of professionalism, somebody who's playing, I don't know, for $1,000-$2,000. These guys, they are maybe more hungry. For sure, they are hungry out of ambition, but they're definitely looking their personal interest much more than team interest, which is normal, I think, in that level. And they are, of course, occupied with stats, and I think they are constantly under guidance or getting advices from agents and family and friends, and actually these people are telling them what they need to do to get to the next level, instead of the guys, as I already mentioned, who are already on the higher level. So that's, in my opinion, I try to explain you the kind of the difference in the mindset of let's say just two different examples of professional players. Next one, we have semi-professional players. It's the guys who are also paid to play basketball, but they are not paid, let's say, enough money that they can live out of it. So they have to do something besides basketball. I think in Europe, in last I don't know, few years or even longer, there is a lot of players who are actually semi-professional even in I would say first division, many first divisions in Europe, you have a roster of 12 players, and at least 3, 4, 5 of them are actually semi-professional players. In this category also, of course, you can have players who are young students, who are going still to school, and their mindset is different from the perspective of, for them it's much more important stuff off the court, the atmosphere in the locker room. Of course, they want to have fun more, and they are maybe more gentle, so they will not endure some things for a long time, because they will say like, I don't need this, you know. So definitely a different mindset than the professional players. Amateurs, what to tell about those guys? I mean, name says everything. Like, they are guys who have one beer, I think before practice, and 3 after. And youth level, I don't think it's a part of the topic in this case. Totally different. You know, we're talking about kids from age 10 till 18, so you need to have, of course, different approach, much more teaching, much more psychology. You have also their parents involved, so I don't think this is the part of this topic particular. So I will not spend a lot of time on that. So now, when we kind of are getting know how the players' mindset works, we can start talking about very important thing, and that is how to actually gain players' respect. I think there are ways to do it. Of course, there is many things that players also like in when coach does, but I think it's very important to emphasize that you should never coach a team that players like you. I think that's not the main point, but definitely you can coach the team that everybody in the team respects you. So you don't need to do everything just to make them like you. So when we talk about how to gain their respect, I think number one thing for me, at least, is humanity. I think it's very simple. I think nobody likes bad guys. Nobody likes bad people, bad person. I never had a conversation with any of my friends, teammates, and when we talk about our career or whatever, and we never talk about somebody in a positive note, if that coach was not a good guy. So I think humanity, for me, it's almost the most important thing. How you treat players, how you respect them. As I already said, they are people, they are humans, so you need to respect them like that also. And every time when coach is like a good person, players respect that enormously in my eyes. Something connected to humanity is they definitely respect when you are fair. So when you are treating them all the same, especially as people, it's a little bit more maybe difficult in terms of hierarchy. Also, maybe later I will talk about it, but they definitely respect coaches who are fair, who don't have some favorite players and somebody that they really like much more than the others. And once the players feel that it's never good, they definitely like and maybe less respect when you are able to build confidence in them. For that, of course, requires development, a lot of communication, but definitely once the player kind of feels that he has much more confidence since you are coaching him or her, definitely it's something that gives a lot of respect from their side. Also, things they respect, in my opinion, is when you appreciate their effort. What I mean by that, You have team of 12 players, and not all the players have the same skills level. You have star players, main players, but you have a lot of less talented or role players. And I think it's really important to be able to appreciate effort of those guys. So guys who are really hustling and doing some stuff that even the stats cannot show, because by doing that also they then feel important, and these in many cases these players are actually the key players of the team. Next thing I put is to be accountable. I think us coaches, we have to be able to admit mistakes as well. So basketball is, we all know basketball is a game of mistakes, a game of misses, turnovers, and we make a lot of mistakes, all of us. And I think when we are able to admit it, players respect it. Of course, there are different ways to do it. Again, it requires the good communication skills. And again, let's say if you lose the game and you will not come the next practice and tell the players, hey guys, yeah, I'm bad, my fault, I called wrong timeouts, did wrong substitutions, and didn't know what to do last 2 minutes of the game. Of course you will not say that, but there are definitely the ways that you can let them know that actually you also did a mistake. And like I said, they really appreciate it and respect it. And the last thing, which definitely is not the last thing in this hierarchy of importance, maybe it's also even number one, it's knowledge. Sooner or later, knowledge comes up top. You can be all of this good guy, you can be fair and build confidence and everything, but if you don't have knowledge appropriate to the level where you are, you will lose the team, you will lose the players. Once the players kind of feel and smell that you don't have enough knowledge for them, like I said, that will be the moment that you will probably lose them. After, let's say, now when we are talking about this big relationship and how to build it and how to become a leader, so we said, what players are, how the brain works. Let's say we gain their respect, hopefully, and what are the things that you don't want to do to lose it. It's kind of obvious, it's opposite. So definitely no humanity. I already talked about it. Lying, I think never lie to the players. This is something one of the worst things you can do. Like I said before, they're talking about everything, and once they catch you in any kind of lie, it's over. So I would say don't promise them minutes or status in the team. Don't even make some small stupid lies, because nothing good can come out of that. This maybe also talking about this also, don't tell them whatever it takes or whatever they want to hear or whatever you are ready to say in order to get some short or long-term goal. I will give you again one example. I was a member of one team, and we had a situation when the coach in the halftime came to one of my teammates, my friend, and they had a kind of a conflict that came from coach, and he told him, like, I don't need you, I can win or lose without you, you think you are blah 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 over this team. And basically he kind of promised him, I'm ready to lose the game without you, I don't care. And this player was probably the best player in the team, and he told him, like, I am ready to play without you, I don't need you. But interesting enough, he didn't actually left him in the locker room. He was still in the jersey, and we played the second half. And game was crazy, game was interesting, and the situation happened that last 2 minutes of the game, there were I don't remember, 2 or 3 guys who came out with the 5 fouls, and that coach had to make a decision to put this player that he had a fight in the locker room, or a little kid, a junior player who basically was not able to contribute in any case. And he came to my friend and he pointed him and he said, "Come on, go in the game." And my friend went in the game, and how usually is in basketball, I always said basketball guy is watching, and my player hit a shot at the buzzer to win the game. And what happened after that? My friend left the team. He lost the respect to the coach. Coach said some things in the locker room. He told him, as I already mentioned, what. After that, we say in Croatia, he eat his own words, and the relationship was finished, and the player left the team, and actually the team kind of went downhill after that. So as I said, never lie to the players. Never build authority on young guys, on young players. I think it's very obvious. It's something that players really don't respect. I already mentioned, I think, favoritism. When coach has somebody who he really likes in front of the everybody else, it's never good, and you will lose the trust of the players. Unnecessary harsh treatment. I think for that case, I will connect it to, it's mostly coming from coaches' insecurity in their knowledge. So you have coaches who kind of don't know what to do, and then you are just killing guys and giving them all over all kind of running practices and stuff like that. And as I said, I think it's coming mostly from their insecurity, and it's also the point where the trust will be lost. And I think it's the last thing I put: inconsistency in demands and requirements. I already kind of mentioned it. So basically, this is the example for that. Every season that you start with the team, you put set of rules, set of things that you will not tolerate, and then, as I said, 1, 2, 5 months after, 5, 10 guys are doing exactly that, and you're kind of, turning your head to the other side and pretending that you don't see it. And again, players, they see, they feel it. As I mentioned, they're testing you, and then basically you will lose it. You will lose the trust. So let's say that in this moment we are we know the players, we know their brain, we know their mindset. I guess we gained their respect. Hopefully we didn't lose it. So now I will try to explain you from my perspective some key steps in building your leadership within a new team. So let's say hypothetically, for the talk, you became a coach of a new team, a young coach, and what are the challenges and what are the things that you should pay attention, and what steps you should do, or at least how I'm doing it in order to become a leader. Definitely the first thing and first challenge that will probably happen, it will be a bias from the players towards you. So players will probably think, who is this guy? He's young, he doesn't have experience, never heard about him, and they will probably judge you immediately because you are a young coach. So for this case and these steps that I will talk about, let's just try to imagine that we took over the team. This happened, and now we have, let's say, I don't know, preparation period of 6 weeks usually, and how to build it and how to build the leadership. First thing is first meeting. So this is one of the key steps in building leadership in the team. Usually it's at the first practice. It can be a short meeting in the huddle where you just introduce yourself or say some words. But this is definitely the first point where players will observe you and listen to every word you say, and they will look how you talk and the tone of your voice, everything you can imagine. Like I said, maybe already before that meeting they had the energy towards you, that they are like judging you. And the first meeting is very, very important in order to show them that you are able to do it and that you are actually not as bad maybe as they think. So for these 10-20 minutes, you should better be really ready and confident with yourself. Maybe also one tip I can give you: never do a first practice after this talk. There is not actually related to the talk. What do I mean by that? I had example coach saying how it's about hard work and tough defense, and we're gonna play on, I don't know, 60 points and I don't know for 10 minutes, and after that he gave us to play soccer for 40 minutes and to shoot, to take 100 shots and go home. Immediately in that point, you know, five of us, we looked at each other and we were like, come on, like this is not actually the same what this coach was talking about. Of course, first practice, now it's something different, but first practice, in my opinion, should never be contact practice and stuff like that. But definitely the talk and the actual practice should be kind of related. So now we are in this preparation period. You had the first meeting. The second step that I'm doing, at least, is players' initial status. What do I mean by that? Every time I start with a new team, and it was not a lot of times, of course, I make all players to have exactly the same status. It's definitely easier to say than to actually do it. But I'm trying to do it. I did it. I have some kind of tricks also to test them in that situation. I explain them that, you know, everybody starts from zero. They have, for example, 6 weeks to show me why they should be the one to play. I did it twice. I think I always, for example, the first 10 days of the practices, I tell at the end of each practice, 2 players, you collect all the balls after the practice. And then the first practice, I say to the 2 young guys, and then the second practice I say to the star player and the young guy. And then basically why I'm doing that, I'm observing the star player and how is he acting and reacting. Is he mumbling something in his chin about, wow, my God, I have to collect the balls and stuff like that. So even from that perspective, I'm trying to give all of them same status. Of course, later, good player always is a good player, and less talented player is always, you know, it's the quality and the reality always in the end comes up top anyway. Also, what I like to do in the beginning, for example, maybe also the first 10 days, I like to give all of them freedom in practice to do, let's say, not whatever they want, but how to put it, I'm not stopping or correcting if, for example, my big guy takes off dribble 3-point in one-on-one or something like that. So I'm allowing them, all of them, to do whatever they want in terms of, let's say, offense, to take any kind of shot they want, that everybody plays pick and roll and stuff like that. And I'm doing that because I want to see their habits. I want to see maybe is there a player who actually is capable of doing something that I didn't know that he can do. You have players who, for example, when they were junior, they played different role and they did something very good, but because of X, Y reasons, in the next 3-4 years, they changed their game because of the purpose of the team, or the coach didn't allow him some stuff, and then he has in this moment this type of game, and actually he can do much more. So sometimes in these first few practices, you can see also stuff like that, and it can help you later to take the best out of players. So we went for the first meeting, the first few days. Now everybody are pretty much in the jungle doing whatever. And then I start with first individual meetings. This usually happens after 7-10 days. And the interesting things about this meeting is, I think it's most important is to let the players talk as much as possible. So not the good thing is to come to that meeting and then do a monologue about you and me, how this, how that. I think you should allow players to talk as much as possible. Try to do it in a friendly, relaxed way. Also, few tips. I never come to that meetings with paper and prepared questions, or a laptop with prepared questions. I mean, it's not a job interview. It's just a normal conversation between two guys. And maybe I will have a blank paper, and if I hear something interesting, I will write it down, for example, on my language, on Croatian, that he cannot see what actually I wrote down and stuff like that. But I don't think it's good when you come, like a school teacher with 10 questions, and you ask the question and then you type down or write down on the paper. I don't think this is a good way to start. And as I already said, you should try to make them talk as much as possible. And one thing that I am doing on this first individual meeting, after the talk, I'm trying to explain shortly how I work, what is important to me. And this is the first time that I'm actually telling them that I'm the boss, that I'm the leader. Not maybe with these exact words. Also, you have to find a way, but definitely I'm letting them know that they are the ones who should follow me and my program. I'm always telling them. I always tell this story. I'm telling my players that from this moment to the end of whenever it is, we have a journey, and this journey can be 2 weeks, 2 months, or 2 years. You can follow me, and my job is that at the end of this journey, in the last day, to be so fair or human that whatever happens in the end, that we are capable of shaking hands and look at each other in the eye, and give you high five and stuff like that, hug each other. So this is for me more important than anything else what happens during the journey. If wins and success happens also during this period of time, even better, of course. So this is the stuff that I'm doing on the first individual meetings. During this course of time, of course, all the time I'm trying to, and the team is trying to build some kind of a team chemistry. There are many ways to do it. I respect them all. I don't believe in some of them, but I respect them. I don't believe in games when the player closes his eye and then the teammate is behind his back, and then he goes backwards and he's catch him, and then everybody are happy. The guy has my back and stuff like that. I don't believe in these things, or the fake barbecues when you have after practice we have a barbecue and we are drinking Fanta and apple juice, and players are just watching on their phones and clock and watch to go home. I don't, and I had it as a player many times. I don't believe in that. I don't do it. I think team chemistry should be built. I do it with hard competitive practices, or at least I would rather go out with the players one night and drink with them, stuff like that. But mostly, chemistry should be built, in my eyes, with things on the floor. I think the players should somehow make their chemistry first alone, and then me as a coach, I'm trying to join them afterwards. There are many methods to do it. You have also interesting thing. You can do it in a way that you kind of turn them around against you a little bit in the beginning, with maybe giving them once or twice some running, to repeat some running. I don't know, suicide. They didn't do it, and then you do it again and again, and then they start, to turn their heads and to talk to you. Oh my God, look at this guy and stuff like that. But they are kind of, let's say, maybe suffering together, and that actually can bond them sooner. And then there are ways, of course, that you kind of can join, and that you are all together having a good team chemistry. And I think the last thing in this building the team is the big team meeting. Usually I do it, I think maybe the last week before the first game. I like to do in this meeting this. It's important to give roles to the players, to make kind of a hierarchy. So let's say they had 6 weeks to show what they can do, and the chemistry is built and everything. And what I'm doing, I'm telling on this meeting to each player in front of everybody else what exactly is his role in this team in this moment. I'm telling to each player what he must do when he's on the court, what he can do when he's on the court, and what he cannot do. I'll give you example. You have a player, I don't know what he has to do. You have a player who, I don't know, wing position, and he must go every time for offensive rebound if he's below the free throw line, something like that. And he has to do it every time, no matter of our offensive concept. For offensive rebound, are we going with 3 guys on triangle, this or that? Doesn't matter. If I tell you that you have to do that every time you're on the court, if he doesn't do it, he's whatever, punished or substituted. What he can do, you can take off dribble 3-point and stuff like that, or I don't know. And what you cannot do, of course, you can maybe say, I don't know, the big guy, you cannot take off dribble shot and stuff like that. Sometimes after this meeting, you will have maybe 1 or 2 players who will, not be happy, and maybe ask some questions and ask for some explanation. And for that, I always set up a new individual meeting. And on this meeting, I call it my black book. So I'm the stuff that I'm writing down on every practice, after the practice, everything you can imagine. And even like the handshake sometimes can tell you a lot, how the players are shaking your hand, or a player. And then I can explain the players in more detail, maybe why is he not where he expected to be in this moment. So now, let's say the season started, we built the team, we did all these steps, and what can you do? You can pray for the wins. Of course, result always is extremely important. And issues and challenges that can happen during the season. We have, I think, stuff that can happen inside of the team. I think team definitely can start to lose games. It can happen a lot. I think all of us young coaches, we are not getting teams who are already defined with the winning mentality, with the winning culture, and with amazing players. We also have to find our way in our career, and most of the times, of course, we are starting with the teams who are not actually winning a lot of games. So also all of us, I think we have to learn how to deal with losses. It's part of our job. So the problems can occur when teams start losing games, and in that case, a lot of times players will blame you. In what way? Very simple. Better him than us. It's very normal in human psychology. Let's say all these players have contracts, and mostly it's coming from the highest paid player, and they start talking and just saying if it's better that we blame the coach, because if it's not a coach, then it's obviously the players, and then either we can be fired or fined, and of course they don't want that. So definitely the problems can start when you lose games. A solution for that, I don't know, win a game. It's very simple, or of course a lot of communication, a lot of meetings, maybe to get loose, loosen up the atmosphere, maybe at the practice and stuff like that can help. Cancer player, so it's my definition of, you have a player or players whose status is threatened or jeopardized, and once they feel that they don't have a status that they expect, they can, not always, but they can become a cancer player. In that case, I think there is one excellent sentence from, I think, Coach Svetislav Pešić. He said, I watched one clinic, and he said, one player cannot make a team, but can destroy the team. And this is exactly the definition of cancer player. In that case, obviously, I think you should give it a shot, maybe with one talk. But usually, what you have to do with cancer, you have to eliminate it and take it off. And the next thing that can happen inside of the team in the course of the season is an open conflict. You have a verbal fight, or hopefully not the fist fight with the player in front of the others. I think in that case, it's really important to try to get out of it as winner. What I mean by that is that something happened, the players saw it, and you have to, after that, show everybody that actually you won in this fight, either with some punishment or with financial punishment, or of course the best scenario is that you find a way and everything is okay, but players cannot feel that the other guy, the other player actually won in this conflict. So basically after that you became towards him, you are liking him more, or you gave him something that he actually asked for, and stuff like that. So I think it's very important that you show in this case that that you kind of won the fight, if you understand what I mean by that. Some external factors for us young coaches, management can start doubting you. Is he the guy? Maybe he's really too young. Maybe it's not the right choice. I personally, luckily, didn't have this issue so far. I had really luck to have a management that really believed in me, and even though I had, for example, one season which was losing season and my team was relegated to the lower division, but I didn't felt in any situation that I don't have support, which is a big luxury for sure. Stress can be a factor for sure. Regarding stress, I also don't have problems with it. Of course, I have stress. I personally like it. I think I'm functioning better in stress. My hair doesn't like it, of course, but I kind of like it, and doesn't mean that I don't make mistakes in stress. Doesn't mean that I didn't do something also bad decision in the game because of stress. Maybe doesn't mean that during the day of the game, you don't feel different. Maybe you go, I don't know, to toilet once or twice more often and stuff like that. I think it's normal, but at least in my case, it takes the best out of me, I hope. And you have some coaches or even players, of course, who cannot function under that. And then the last thing, what I put here is insecurities. Insecurities maybe with yourself, that you are starting asking yourself, like, am I the right guy for this team? Not in general for the coaching job, but maybe you start out, can you turn things around with this particular team, and is all the methods and philosophies that you're doing with this group of guys the right one? So this is something also that can be a challenge during the season. So all of this that I'm talking, I know I probably talk too much, I'm coach, but all of this, I will make a short conclusion, and to summarize it, I will kind of repeat what is the three most important qualities of a coach in order to become a leader of the team. As I already mentioned, in my opinion, is humanity for sure, and all the things that goes with humanity. Definitely knowledge, which maybe can be also number one. Without knowledge, I mean, you obviously cannot do a good job or to become a leader. And the last thing I put there, I actually talk about it the whole time, kind of between the lines, is psychology or emotional intelligence. So all these that I said today here, you can know it in theory, you can learn it, you can read, I don't know how many books or watch how many clinics, but I think if you don't have emotional intelligence to actually then use it in life situations to recognize the signals of a players, of people. Like I said, sometimes the handshake can tell you a lot. If you don't have it, I think that you cannot be a leader of this group. In the end, I will say, when you take all of this together, and kind of it's what coaching is about, if you are able to make the team follows you no matter what, in good and in bad, then I think in that case, if you can make them buy into your program, into your philosophy, into your methods, and they follow, then I think obviously you are the leader of that group and that team. Yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So I hope I didn't kill all the time.
You did great, Coach. I just have a couple of questions here. Coach, can you give some more examples of how you build your team chemistry?
Well, as I said it before, I think that mostly what I'm using is hard practicing, competitive practicing. And I think by players doing that, they are immediately also building a team chemistry. I am, as I said, I'm not using a lot of stuff out of the court. Everything has to be in competitive spirit. And I think by doing that, slowly they will start enjoy these kind of things, and then I think team chemistry will come afterwards. Of course, winning for sure helps and should help after that. And this is definitely something that is necessary. There is not a lot of now tips that to tell you do this or do that. Like I say, I don't do these games. We are all on the mat and there is sharks around us and we need to go to the half court line. I just don't do it. I don't believe in it. I believe in hard work. So this is the stuff that I'm doing.
Awesome, coach. And then, do you have any contact information for people watching the clinic that they can get a hold of you and ask you further questions if they have them?
I mean, yeah, my email, or I don't know, I can leave it or type it here, and I then can answer whatever questions anyone is interested in asking.
That's awesome. Thank you, coach.
Anything else from
that? Just a couple different people just thanking you for sharing and just asking for the contact information, coach. I thought it was
okay.
good.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed it. Like I said, we're about out of time. So you did a great job with your hour. Got a ton of different information in.
Definitely, like I said, it's a problem that we can talk, I guess, a lot.
Yeah, no, it's great though. That's one of the things that we can do in times like this to continue to expand our information, and I think that was really good. I think that culture piece is a really important part for young coaches. So I know personally, I really appreciate it as well.
Some other question or no, I cannot see it.
Oh, there's one more question.
Uh-huh.
What kind of notes do you take in your black book after practice?
Well, black book, I call it black book. It's a notebook that I'm writing. After every practice, I sit down and I write down kind of how the practice was. Did I do everything that I planned? And I'm writing everything you can imagine from energy of the players. As I said, maybe even the hand check. Did the guy touch the line when he was running and stuff like that? What I'm also doing lately, I'm putting the best three and the worst three players at the practice. So I write down, in my opinion, in that particular moment, who were the best three guys and who were the kind of best worst three players. And then you can kind of, let's say, use it in few months in advance when player comes to you and ask, okay, coach, but why? And then I just take my black book and I go through the practices, and it's kind of much easier to show them where they are.
No, that's awesome, coach. That's really great stuff. Thank you again for coming on and taking time out of your day. This was really helpful. I'm sure a lot of different coaches feel that way, and we got a lot of good feedback from the.
Thank you as well.
Well, thanks, coach. Have a great rest of your day, and look forward to hopefully talking to you soon.
Thank you, everyone. Bye bye.